Hello again. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, you have made it to the final section of the lender buckets module, and we will be discussing choosing your primary bucket. So let's get right into it. So your primary bucket is simply your niche product. This is going to be where you spend a majority of your marketing budget and your time. Now, it's not like we're getting rid of the other buckets when you choose a primary and you choose your niche here. All the other buckets are still going to be in play. However, they're definitely going to be secondary when it comes to your marketing efforts. The goal of this primary bucket is to hone in your marketing efforts ultimately. So just another analogy, we've used several throughout the course, but when we're determining your niche, just kind of think of like, which fish am I trying to catch out in the ocean, right? You don't see for all those fishermen out there, you don't use the same lure for a halibut as you do a salmon. You don't use the same techniques. You don't fish in the same spots. It's the same thing here. We want to make sure we're using the right lure, throwing it out there in the ocean, and we're marketing to a specific kind of person to catch a specific kind of fish. So today we're going to go through the reason why you're going to want to choose this primary, obviously, and how to choose that primary. So ultimately, you want your primary bucket because you want to dig out a niche in the market. But we know that each bucket's going to define a different type of investor, just like we talk about, and they're going to be located in different places. So we need to have the right kind of lure. So just a reminder, the three primary buckets that we do have are the fix and flip, the commercial bridge bucket, and the perm loan, right? Now, these are your primary buckets, and we do have that special use bucket, but remember, that's kind of for those special scenarios. We want to hone in within these primary buckets, which one is going to be your main focus. So we're choosing a primary within the primary. You're choosing a niche within these buckets. So you need to find one that you're going to market. And remember, the reason why you want to find one to market, ultimately, it's going to help you hone in and find borrowers much easier. If you're trying to market all three of these products, those are all three different types of people you're going to be marketing to. So it's going to slow your marketing down, and you're really going to get beat out by the competition. So you need to focus in and make yourself more efficient. And the only way I can think of making yourself more efficient is trimming off the fat, focusing on just one. It's not like we're throwing away the other programs. We're just focusing on one so that we can basically get more revenue, focus in on our efforts, and not waste any time. In this slide, we're going to talk about how to choose the niche, and we're going to be talking about that throughout this entire section. But how do you ultimately choose which product you're going to run with? Well, there are two main things that you need to think about. First off, you want to try to get into business as quickly as possible. So how are you going to get in business as quickly as possible? How are you going to market to the right kind of people as quickly as possible? You need to consider two things. Number one, you need to consider, who do you know right now? I remember back when I was in high school, a lot of my buddies got into selling Cutco knives. If you're not familiar with Cutco knives, it's kind of like a multi-level marketing thing. But what you do is you buy a set of knives and you sell it. But the first thing that the sales manager would always say is, who do you know? Contact all your moms, all the moms of your friends. Contact the family members. Try to get in touch with as many people as you know currently, and that's going to help catalyst you to getting more deals beyond those people. But who do you know first? So who you know is ultimately currency. You've heard the phrase too. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. That's what we're trying to consider here. How can I get into the business as quickly as possible? So who do I know? Do I have a database of referral partners who are going to help me get business in this niche, whether it's fix and flip or the commercial side? Do I have a database of referral partners, or do I have a database of borrowers? Do I know any borrowers that are perfect for the commercial programs or perfect for the flip program or the perm program? You need to find out who you know. You need to write a list down. Who do I know that's going to help me carve out my niche? The second thing you need to ask is what you know. Sure, who you know is better, but what you know matters, and it is also currency. Now, this is going to be diving into your experience, okay? So like, what do I know? What kind of experience do I have? Do I have any wisdom in this fix and flip side? Do I understand the terminology? Do I have an expertise in this side? Do I know commercial real estate? Do I know commercial business owners? This is kind of like, you're going to have an edge in the way you talk to people based on what you know, right? So what you know helps you get in with people that you do know or you don't know. It's going to help people have more confidence in you, right? So who do you know and what do you know? But ultimately, we already said this, who you know is probably more important. You could watch my presentations 100 times over, you could and never, use the information that you actually know. So it's not about what you know. You can know a lot, but if you don't start talking to people and you don't have a list of people that you're starting to accumulate of who you know, you're going to be spinning your wheels the whole time. You need to let your money work for you. And the only way to do that is to connect with people, make connections. It's about who you know that's going to get you ahead, not about what you know. Now, over the next few slides, I'm going to go over how to get to know each category, each bucket. Okay, so this first bucket's going to be the fix and flippers. How do you get to know these people? So this is for those of you who already know which niche they're going to dive into, and also for those of you who aren't sure which niche and you're curious, okay, well, how do I get to know these people? How do I get to know a flipper or a commercial real estate investor? So I'm going to go over a list of places and things you should be doing to get to know each category. And hopefully this will help you figure out, okay, I like that idea. I like the idea of talking to people here or there, and I want to go for that niche. So here we go. So fix and flippers congregate in these things called RIAs, stands for Real Estate Investment Associations. They're all over the country. And how this works is fix and flippers and regular real estate investors and anybody who really wants to learn about the investment space on the real estate side, they all congregate in these local RIA groups. Now, every city, every metro city in the United States has a RIA group. So it's very easy to get into one of these locations, get into one of these groups, and start marketing yourself as a loan officer. So how do you get to know fix and flippers? This is the number one location you should be going, is local real estate investment associations. The second way to get to know a fix and flipper is just through wholesale ads. If you're not familiar with real estate, I would recommend that you look into the definition of a wholesaler. A wholesaler is essentially somebody who markets themselves as somebody who has cash to buy your house, but they aren't the ones who actually have the cash. All they are is somebody who's trying to find a deal on the market. They get houses under contract, and then they pitch those houses, which they have under contract, to their list of investors. And so these wholesalers are really good people to know, and it's very easy to contact a wholesaler, network yourself into a discussion with them where they want to start sending you investors. So wholesaler ads are a great place to find real estate investors on the flip side, because a wholesaler is trying to get into flipping houses. The third place to get to know fix and flippers is meetup.com or any type of meetup style website. Basically, you just search fix and flip meetups online, whether it's on meetup.com or another type of social media platform like this, and it will connect you with tons of meetings where real estate investors, especially the fix and flippers, are meeting. This is how they get together. Now let's dive into the rental investors. So this is your perm loan, your 30-year fixed. People who are investing in single families for the 30-year rental loan. Same with multifamily commercial. These are your 30-year rental properties. Same thing as before. You're going to find these people congregating at the RIA groups. The RIA groups are extremely valuable for pretty much anyone who's investing on the single family 1 to 4 unit side. And that's a lot of the times going to mean your perm loan, your rental loan. Real estate agents are great for real estate investors, obviously, right? So real estate agents, a majority of them work with people who are looking to buy their first house or maybe their second house. But ultimately, they do network with real estate investors. And a lot of these agents might know of big time real estate investors who are buying maybe their third, fourth, fifth, maybe 10th investment property, but they can no longer go the conventional route. And that's when you come into play, because you're not going to be verifying the same things that a conforming lender would be verifying. So very good tools. If you already know real estate agents, you should definitely be considering just offering the perm product, the perm bucket as your primary. If you don't know real estate agents, now you know where to look. Another place for the perm loans is title companies. You can often call a title company and actually buy a list of properties they've been closing on over the last year or two. And so title companies are great resources to getting in touch with real estate investors. And you can ask the right questions from a title company to have them give you the right kind of list. Like you can ask them, hey, do you have a list of deals that you've closed on like fourplexes or duplexes? That's going to be a real estate investor play more likely than it being like somebody's primary residence, right? So you get a huge list just from a title company. So if you're already in this space, if you already know title companies and real estate agents, this is probably where you should land. If you don't, now you know where to look once again. Wholesaler lists, we went over this in the last slide. It's the same thing. Wholesalers have a list of investors that they're pitching properties to. So they pitch these properties, they've gotten under contract. They're looking for some investor to buy the contract in essence, so they can make a small commission. Wholesalers will often also sell you their lists, if you offer them a good price. And then finally, if you're doing your perm loan bucket, there are softwares out there such as Reonomy.com. It's a website called Prekin, as well as Cix.com. These are just websites. They're like networking websites for real estate investors. Reonomy isn't as much a networking website, but it is a database of real estate investors who are looking to do long-term loans as well as some maybe short-term stuff. So Reonomy is fantastic for pretty much any of these categories. Cix is very good for your 30-year rental and your fix and flippers. Prequin, I'm not very familiar with, but I know it's also one of those websites. So softwares are also a great place to get to know these borrowers who are looking for perm loans. Now, finally, as you come to your commercial bridge bucket, this is where you get into a different place. You're going to be getting leads from different locations in comparison to those like regular investment 1 to 4, 30-year and fix and flip stuff. So this is where the strategy would completely change. So where you get your leads on the commercial bridge side is going to be a bit different, bit more sophisticated. You're going to be talking to commercial bankers. That's going to be your number one source for these kinds of deals, commercial bankers. So that means like you go to your local credit union, for example, you talk to somebody, you ask them for the commercial banker who does your commercial lending, and you establish a relationship with someone who's in a suit. You establish a relationship. You tell them, hey, I do alternative financing. Send me your turn downs, your turnaways, the people that you can't fund. That's who I fund. And you'll either get a cold shoulder or you'll get a great relationship. But this is where you're going to find your commercial bridge deals, because that's the type of deals that these guys see are commercial deals, and a lot of deals that people just can't fund. So they're great relationships. Your second relationship you're going to be establishing is your CPAs. So these are like your tax accountants, your bookkeepers, your business bookkeepers, right? So these are people who talk to business owners every day. They have intimate relationships with people who own commercial properties, and those people are willing to listen to their CPAs. So when you call a CPA, you have that discussion. I do the alternative financing on the real estate side. And if you can get in with a good CPA who has a lot of business clients, you can bring in a ton of commercial bridge deals. Business attorneys, this kind of lines up with your CPAs, but it's a different category. Business attorneys, these are people setting up businesses as well as doing contracts for business owners who own a lot of real estate. Most small business owners, they're not going to have like an attorney on hand, but a business owner who owns a lot of assets, that's somebody who's always asking their attorney questions. So this is where you're going to go. This is who you want to know if you're going to be doing the commercial bridge stuff. So if you already have a database of CPAs, business attorneys, commercial bankers, this is probably where you should be setting your feet. And then finally, commercial real estate agents. So commercial real estate agents are going to be your friend, because they also understand that not everybody's going to qualify for like that SBA style financing. And that's when you come in as the savior on the commercial bridge side. Now, if you don't know any of those people and you're still not sure where you should land, maybe you have a little bit of commercial You know some CPAs, but you're not like all in there. You might know a couple real estate agents, but you're not sure. You're not all in there either. There is a default that I always push people to, and that default is fix and flippers. This should be your default. If you don't know anybody, if you aren't familiar with those spaces, if you're not sure which way you should go, I highly recommend you go to the fix and flip side and just market yourself as a lender to fix and flippers. And the reason why I say that is because most fix and flippers are gonna their goal is to start renting properties, accumulating assets and renting properties. And ultimately, they want to end up being a large investor. They got big dreams and they want to start investing in that commercial bridge product. They're going to start needing the commercial bridge product. So a fix and flipper, they're just easier to talk to. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the life cycle of a fix and flipper so you can see what I'm talking about. So here's a typical life cycle of a fix and flipper. Number one, flipping is normally where most investors start, unless they're just looking to do rental properties. A lot of very ambitious investors, they want to start on the fix and flip side. And the reason why they want to start there is because of the ease of entry. You could start out as a wholesaler, just like we were talking about, where you just find people who want cash for their house. You pitch that to an investor, a real established investor, and you actually get a pretty big commission if you can upsell to that investor. And it's a very, very easy way of getting into the space. And then there's the attractive income prospects. So after someone's done wholesaling, they want to start actually flipping. I mean, most flippers make between $20,000 and $100,000 per flip, depending where you are. A lot of the California ones I see these days, these are like $1 million flips. Like they're netting $1 million. It's pretty amazing. So there's very attractive income prospects. And then finally, there's plenty of support. Like we talked about, the RIA groups, they're awesome. They're always sharing. The beautiful thing about fix and flippers is they're always trying to learn more and get better, and they're willing to network. It's very rare you'll talk to a real estate investor that's a flipper who wants to give you the cold shoulder. They're almost every time going to want to learn more. They want to learn more. They want a better deal. They are interested in networking and getting together and networking with one another. So that's another reason why, hey, just default to the flipper side. You're going to have an easier pitch, an easier conversation. Sure, you're going to run into some newbies and it's going to be kind of exhaustive in that way. But on the other spectrum, it's a much easier sell. And if you're just starting out, fix and flipping, that bucket is going to be the way to go. Now, the next life cycle, like where the flipper wants to go, we already talked about this in the last slide. They want to start renting properties because they want to start accumulating assets. So often the fix and flippers hear of this strategy called the BRRRR strategy. And what that stands for is buy, rehab, rent, refinance. And they do this BRRRR strategy, which allows them to keep investing in more properties because they buy a property, they rehab it, increasing the value, then they rent it out, and then they refinance. So the neat thing about this is you might give someone a fix and flip loan, and then right after, about, let's just say 5-10 months down the road, they call you and say, hey, I got it fixed up. I actually got it rented out. Could you refinance me into your perm product that you offer? You'll say yes. You refinance into the perm, give them some cash out, and then they go use that cash for their next flip or their next BRRRR strategy, right? So this is another reason why the fix and flipper is just such a good person to network with and get in with, especially one that's really experienced. If they start using your money, they're not going to want to go anywhere else, especially if you do a good job on this BRRRR strategy side. Again, they want to build wealth in rental properties. A flipper doesn't want to be a flipper for life. They want to start building wealth. They want to accumulate rental properties for that passive income side. So that's where that BRRRR strategy takes hold. And then the final goal of any fix and flipper, at least the ambitious ones, is going to ultimately be to buy commercial real estate. And the main reason why someone would want to buy commercial real estate is because of the triple net leases. If you're not familiar with triple net lease, it's a pretty awesome thing. And I can't believe that this is how it is, but it is what it is. You could own a commercial property, but the person that you lease that commercial property is required to pay for the taxes on the property, to pay for the improvements, to pay for all the utilities. Every little bit of that property the person that you lease the property to is actually required to to make all those payments. It's amazing. Get permits and everything. So ultimately, a fix and flipper who's renting properties, they want to land in the commercial space because the triple net lease is just a great deal for an investor. It's just more hands off. That's the thing. It's more hands off. It allows for a better passive income, and it's just a bigger place. It's bigger, better things. Who doesn't want to own a commercial building? I mean, how cool does that sound? Especially to like fix and flipper who's just starting out, or an ambitious one who's done a few flips. Again, the higher values, a big commercial building, there's just going to be much more value in a big commercial building than your small, resi building. That might be $100,000 resi building, same square footage, make it an office space. Now that's a $400,000 value, right? So anyways, this is your life cycle of a flipper. And this is why I recommend, if you aren't sure where you're going, or maybe you do have a network, you want to default to the flipper side if you can, for all these reasons. Flippers are typically going to end up fitting in every single box throughout their life eventually. They might start out in their 20s flipping properties, but by the time they're 40, 45, they're going to be doing commercial deals if they're still in the game. So now the big question is, which one is best for you? So ultimately, the bucket that's going to be best for you is going to be the one that has the quickest setup. And you'll know which one has the quickest setup for you is based on who you know. If you know people, if you know tax accountants, CPAs, if you are well networked in that space, obviously commercial real estate's the game. If you know real estate agents and title companies and you are well immersed in that community, boom, you should be doing perm loans. That's your permanent financing bucket. And then finally, if you know wholesalers, if you're into the RIA groups, if you've looked into flipping yourself, you probably already have those relationships, then obviously you should be in the flip side. And then the second thing you should be considering on which one's best for you is, which one do you have the quickest understanding of? Which one do you already have the lingo down with? Obviously, who you know is more important, but if you already got the lingo down on one of them, maybe you should move to a bucket where you understand the lingo, or the lingo better than if you don't, especially if you don't know anybody. But ultimately, we talked about it. If you aren't sure which one's best for you, I really recommend you should just dive into the fix and flip side. Very easy people to talk to. They're looking for gains. They're looking for better deals. They're willing to network. And in the end, if they end up being a client for life, if you live out the full life cycle of a few really good flippers, you'll never have to look for business again. You'll just be doing so many loans with these guys. You won't really have to market anymore. So default to fix and flip in the end, but don't let me sway you away from the bucket that you're already going towards. I just recommend defaulting to the fix and flip just because if you don't have experience in those other sections. If you already know those other buckets, the people that fit in those other buckets, you should definitely be going that route. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me for this last section of the Lender Buckets module. We've completed this module, so wonderful job. Now let's move on to the next module and hopefully finish up this course for you so you can start marketing your business. Talk soon.